Welcome to the Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. G.Bush, John Kosko, in on a very short week. Just got off the Sunday. We just turned around, and all of a sudden, it's a Thursday night primetime game, and you know what that means. Short week for the Browns, injuries everywhere. And, John, we come off this very difficult, game where you see Baker Mayfield get hurt. You see Kareem Hunt carted off. You see out without your two tackles, and Baker Mayfield still doesn't play well. It looked like the game where, I kind of predicted it and kind of said I had a bad feeling about this game. And everything that we saw in this game basically led itself to the Browns having a very terrible showing at home, 37-14, loss to the Cardinals. And one of the only touchdowns they got was with a Hail Mary. So what are some of your general thoughts on the game before we get to the nitty-gritty breaking down the Cardinals game?
It was, the final score was worse than what it kind of was. There were large stretches of this game where I thought like the team played well. I think you're talking about like some of the penalties that really were backbreakers early on, that extended drives. Both roughing and passers were
phantom garbage calls, bro.
Garbage. So the roughing the passer ones, both of them I thought were extremely weak. Obviously the one with like Malik Jackson was weak. There's a case that you can make it for Malik McDowell one, but that was pretty weak.
Yeah, I think there were times and points where it was like 23-14.
That's a very doable game.
Browns looked like they were on the move a few times, but they could never quite really, just overtake the penalties and the turnovers they had. I think Baker Mayfield had 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 1 interception. Those occurred in our own territory. So it was a game in general where the Cardinals, and let's give them credit, they were out there without their coach, without their offensive coordinator, and basically Colt McCoy, the receivers coach, and Kyler Murray just were out there just calling plays, and I guess it worked out for him. So I'll give him credit. Kyler Murray looked great. He looked like, right now, as of now, if he wants to have bragging rights, he not only has bragging rights, he's 2-0 against Baker Mayfield, but I would say at this point in his career, he's a better player at this point. Would you agree? Is he a better today?
100%.
Better quarterback than Baker right now.
100%. So, at the beginning of the season, I put Baker into that second tier of quarterbacks of, I put it basically with Lamar, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and others or whatever, right? Where like essentially like any of those guys are kind of like interchangeable around or whatever. And their play last year, Baker's play last year could have catapulted him into the next level had he maintained that level of play and progressed from there. But what he's done is completely regressed. And you're talking about when, he elicits, like when you talk about reactions and like Twitter, if you watch football on Twitter, which means you see what people are saying on basically on a throw for throw basis. So like there's a certain cohort of quarterbacks that elicit like emotional responses to like literally every throw a guy makes. Like, oh, look at that throw. This is it. He's a franchise guy. Or like he'll make a bad throw and it's like, oh, I knew it. That guy, he sucks. I always knew that guy sucked, right? Baker's one of those guys where it's like every single high is celebrated and every single low is like, how could he, right? There's a group of players like that, and they basically are middle tier quarterbacks. And
who would you, to put it in context a little bit, who would you put in that sort of mid tier where they're very polarizing due to, if you're a mid tier player, that just means that you're medium, which means by default, some people will say that means you're inconsistent. Who would you kind of, put right there without, just kind of off the top of your head as far as guys who for throw people on Twitter go crazy about?
I think Jameis Winston's at a massive extreme for that.
Yeah.
But another guy would be Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins is a guy that just he still does that right now. Jimmy Garoppolo, another one of them.
I think Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, like I think there was a period of time, but I think there's an understanding now of what Jared Goff is and you just don't expect much from him. But I'd say that he is kind of like the low middle tier type quarterback.
We talked about a little bit last week, not really pushing the ball downfield, whether that's part of a design or whether that's part of him just not seeing it well. In this game, what are a couple of things that you pointed out to say, wow, this is really a crazy thing? This is like, wow, that's not something that Baker would be doing.
You want to see a quarterback be able to do is deliver balls accurately from a clean pocket. Last year, his grade doing that was top 5 grade in the NFL. And then at post week 6, when week 7 throughout the rest of the season, he was a top 2 quarterback in that standard. This year, he's 18th, and he's stayed bad in under pressure grade, outside the pocket grade. 3rd and 4th down grade was really good last year. That's now 15th percentile. It's bottom of the league in terms of what he can do there. So, and he's just not making positively graded throws as well. So like, one of the big part of Baker Mayfield's game was just he could throw big time throws. Like as a rookie, he was 2nd in the NFL, I believe it was 2nd in big time throw rate, and that has dropped in every year. Last year it came back up, but that part of his game is gone again. It seems like he, the scheme, Kevin Stefanski putting him in right situations and like him getting comfortable, he was able to like read defenses and go through his progressions and get it to the correct guy and open guy accurately for the most part. And it looked like that was like, oh, this is a guy that the Browns took number 1 overall. It's the reason why we had him number 1 in our PFF big board back in the day. He looked like he was starting to look like that guy. For whatever reason, offseason comes along for Baker Mayfield. What does he do in the offseason? I know he works out, like that's been documented, but does he work out with a throwing coach to say, hey, my mechanics are, this, I need to get them, better. What can I do to improve mechanics so that like I can just be even more consistent and more accurate with the ball? Like we know that when things are perfect for you, yes, you can throw a very accurate ball. You're probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league when everything is right. You've read the defense perfectly. You have no doubt in your mind. But when you have doubt that creeps into your mind, your mechanics break down and you become an inaccurate quarterback. So, I listened to a Josh Allen interview last week he had with Rich Eisen, and he talked about how he had 12 different cameras all around him mapping his throwing mechanics, and that they would break it down by like fractions of a second of, all right, this is what's out of sync, and this is what you need to fix, and these are what the fine-tuned changes, and he's constantly doing that. Baker Mayfield is asked when he hurt his shoulder, and they're talking about like mechanics of like, does it affect your mechanics? And somebody asked like, do you need to change your mechanics or anything like that? Blah blah blah. And he's like, no, I don't.
No, I'm straight. I'm
so
cool.
It's like,
I've been doing that.
He's like, I close my foot to the target. Most quarterbacks keep it pointed to the target, but
I remember that quote too.
I've been doing that my whole life, and it works for me. It's like, yeah, okay. Tom Brady, he's constantly going and improving his mechanics and trying to get better every single year. What are you doing?
It seems to me when Baker does not have his first read, right? Or he gets to his top of his drop and he's looking around and say his number 1 target is covered. When he gets to number 2, if he doesn't like that look specifically, he won't sit in the pocket. He's automatically rolling. It's just an automatic roll left or right, or his natural process is to, oh goodness, I got to move around. He gets happy feet.
This past game, OBJ was the 2nd highest graded wide receiver in the NFL this past week. So it's not as if like OBJ has like, he's like some type of bum nowadays, or whatever that people like to make him out to be. He gets open. He looks explosive. Maybe he's still not the same level of dude that he was at in New York, but like, he looks like 90% of that dude, and that still gets open at a pretty dang good rate.
Around the AFC North is brought to you by Manscaped. Who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming? Champions of the world, Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family and your jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawn Mower 4, and I'm going to tell you what, this is freaking awesome, guys. Listen, this thing is sleek. This thing is cool. It runs very efficiently. And best of all, it does not cut you where you're most sensitive at. Don't get yourself twisted. This is the barbershop. I would not tell you about something that don't clean you up right. You're going to get the Lawnmower 4. You heard that right, the 4. And you can join over 2 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with the exclusive offers for you today. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code BARBERSHOP at manscaped.com.
Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths. Man, if you've been shaving with the same nut trimmer on your face, you've been doing it wrong.
Don't do that, man.
Don't do that. You could do it with your face, but if you don't want to mix and match there, so
I'll tell you what,
get yourself a new one.
I will tell you what, one of the things we talk about all the time is with these kind of trimmers and stuff is the cut. I thought, you're kind of apprehensive because I've cut myself before and it hurts whether it's on your face, but it really hurts down there. Also, they do a really good job of coming out with other different products. Right now, this is the crop preserver. If you use deodorant under your arms, why not use deodorant down there? This is clean, it feels effective, and it gives off no residue. That's what we're looking for when you're a big guy as well. And they have a handy dandy spray, which really help you out as well. This is the Crop Reviver. Keeps you down there, keeps everything smooth and ready to go. And trust me, the significant other will like it. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code BARBERSHOP at manscaped.com. The 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped, and use the code word BARBERSHOP. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Let's get to 5 burning questions with John Kosko and in the AFC North. So go ahead. Let's get to a question. Baltimore Ravens actually played the Los Angeles Chargers, who was the opponent for the Cleveland Browns just 1 week ago. Browns end up losing to those Chargers in heartbreaking fashion, giving up all those points, 47 points. Baltimore Ravens come in and do a number on them and basically hold them to 7 points. Are the Ravens that impressive, or was it just a letdown for the Chargers?
So it's I think it was more of a letdown for the Chargers than the Ravens just being that impressive. We know that the Ravens are a good team. They are a very good team. Lamar Jackson's, he's coming off a 3-week stretch where he played really good football. But I think in this game, you look at it from an overall standpoint from them. Lamar Jackson didn't have a great game by any means. He was fine in this one. The defense, it wasn't like it was lights out or anything like that. I really kind of think it was more of a letdown for the Chargers. Justin Hurt, overall grade for the Chargers team, in this game was a 49.6. Yeah, give credit to the Ravens for having a good game plan and stuff like that. But like part of what, if you remember in this game against the Chargers for the Browns, the Chargers weren't really doing anything on 1st and 2nd down. And then they were making big plays on 3rd and 4th down, where they were getting all these conversions. And they weren't doing that against the Ravens. Essentially, the Ravens won on 3rd downs. And it's, one of the things that we, when I talk about stable versus unstable metrics, one of the stable metrics for quarterbacks are their early down grades. So 1st and 2nd down, how do they play versus it's unstable for the late downs, 3rd and 4th downs. And Herbert's been excellent in late down play. And I've been waiting for forever to have this come back down to earth. And it happened against the Ravens. Like you can't make a living on winning consistently on 3rd downs. You have to be able to move the sticks, the chains, and move the ball on those early downs to make it easier on 3rd down rather than having a 3rd and 10 and then converting that. A 3rd and 2 is way easier to convert. So to me, it was more of a Chargers coming back down to earth, having a letdown after the big game against win against the Browns, and hats off to the Ravens for the good game plan they had, though.
Number 2, let's get to Pittsburgh. Let's get to Pittsburgh. The Steelers with a win go to 3-3, and now they're tied with the Cleveland Browns for, I don't know what you can look at it. You can see either say they're tied for third place or they're tied for last place in the AFC North. Whatever, I guess it is. 3-3 for the Steelers, 3-3 for the Browns. Did you expect the Steelers to be where they are right now, and are they performing above above the expectations?
So my expectations for them were to be a 500 team by the end of the season. So they're kind of on track for that, I would say. Did you expect them to beat the Bills? No, but you also expected them to beat the Raiders or the Bengals. Did expect them to lose to the Packers, expected them to beat the Broncos, probably didn't expect them to beat the Seahawks. So like the way that their season's played out in terms of how they got their wins and losses, like the only one that makes sense is like just losing to the Packers. Everything else is, and beating the Broncos, but everything else is like this been like the opposite of what you expected. So I would say that they're kind of right where I expected them to be. They have a very good overall team outside of that quarterback position, and they're going to be a handful every single week when you have to go up against them. So it's going to be for them, it's going to be a grind for the rest of the season. And I know that like for Steelers fans, they're going to want to see a new, quarterback coming in there. And if they keep winning games, it just makes it that much harder to draft a guy at the top of the draft.
Number 3, let's get to this. The surprise Cincinnati Bengals. I'm surprised by the Bengals. A lot of people had the Bengals not being very good. Their offensive line has been pretty much documented as being not one of the worst lines in the league. Joe Burrow, during the preseason, people talking about during camp, he couldn't, he would look uncomfortable in the pocket, his accuracy. Their coach was on the hot seat already going into the season. But guess what? Lo and behold, second place in the division. And one of the bright spots is Joe Burrow's to Jamar Chase, the former college, teammates are really lighting the scoreboard up right now. And would you say that that is one of the top 3 tandems as far as quarterback receivers tandems in the AFC right now?
Probably so. They essentially are scoring, they're putting up 100 yards and a touchdown every single week, and they're doing it with very good efficiency. They clearly have a connection going back to their LSU days. And, Joe Burrow is a stud quarterback. Jamar Chase is a stud wide receiver. You expect them to have some type of connection there. And just, if a guy's getting open like Jamar Chase does, Joe Burrow can read a defense, find that open guy, and knows, and he's smart enough to know when to go for those shots and when not to. So to me, this is, there's this debate of whether or not you draft Jamar Chase or, Penei Sewell. Well, Jamar Chase is, clearly one of the best rookies in the NFL, and Penei Sewell is kind of struggling on a Detroit Lions team that's, hasn't won a game yet. So,
by the way, for all you people out there, once again, another thing that your father's always told you should draft a lineman every single year. If you draft an offensive lineman, you'll be great. No, offensive linemen are just as risky as receivers and quarterbacks. So stop thinking you just going to get a fat dude, put him up there, and they just going to block everybody and be Orlando Pace just because you think it's an even. It's not. They can bust too.
Do you know any of the offensive linemen that Peyton Manning ever played with?
Nope.
Oh, what about Drew Brees?
None at all.
Tom Brady?
I know Damian Woody, but that's because he's on TV now.
There you go.
That's it.
You don't know about these guys. Like Jeff Saturday comes off the top of my head for Peyton Manning, right? But like really, like it's essentially like it doesn't really matter who your offensive line is if you're an elite level quarterback.
Right now, the AFC looks like a strong division. Ravens at the top of the division at 5-1. You got the Steelers at 3-3, Browns 3-3, and the Bengals are at 4-2. When you look at this division, how many teams do you have making the playoffs from the AFC North?
I think it's pretty clear that you got the Ravens that are going to go, the Bills that are going to go. I think you've got one team out of the South, which are going to be the Titans that are going to go. As bad as the Chiefs have been so far, they're only 3-3. They're going to win that division, no problem, and they're going to go to the playoffs. I think, the Chargers are looking excellent. They're going to go into the playoffs, so that's 5. So then you've got the Broncos. I don't think they're a legitimate contender, even though they started 3-0. They've lost 3 straight. You can ignore the Texans, Colts, and Jaguars. They're all garbage. And then you got the Raiders at sitting at 4-2. They're an interesting case. You know, if you would have asked me last week before, like John Gruden was fired and stuff like that because of all the emails and stuff like that came out, I would have definitely said that they could make the playoffs based on the strength of their team. That type of thing usually kind of derails a season for a team. While they did play well in this one game, I don't know if they're going to be able to gut it out and make the playoffs, moving forward or whatever. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are going to be contenders, but I don't think they make the playoffs. And then you've got the Patriots, right? So the Patriots are an interesting team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because it's, 2-4. That's not a great position. So then you got the Cincinnati Bengals, which I hadn't mentioned yet. Are they going to make the playoffs? I think so. I think they're sitting at 4-2, and they look really good. This offense looks really good. I like what they're doing on defense. They held, they basically went toe to toe with the Green Bay Packers, which is one of the best offenses in the NFL, and went, lost in overtime based on like a bunch of stupid missed field goals and stuff like that. So you're looking at, all right, what is the 7th position? What team is going to make it in there in the playoffs? Could be the Raiders. It could be the Patriots. Is there another team I'm missing that has a chance to fit in there?
So that leaves your Cleveland Browns, and that gets to burning question number 5. Given the fact that Baker Mayfield is going for a second opinion, we don't want to have reckless speculation, but generally speaking, when you go for a second opinion, that means something was wrong on the first opinion. If Case Keenum is the starter and Baker does these surgeries out long term, do the Cleveland Browns have a shot, or do you believe that they will make the playoffs?
I do not think they make the playoffs if Case Keenum is their starting quarterback this year. Now, we know Baker Mayfield has been struggling the past couple weeks, but like Case Keenum's grades in his career, he had one good season with the Minnesota Vikings, basically kind of, carried by a really good Vikings team, which the Browns do have a very good team that they could do that if he game manages it, keeps it, protects the ball, hits reads defenses and finds the open receiver and hits him. But, you're talking about an outlier of a season from him at an 81.4. He's never been above 70 the rest of his career. The next year with the Broncos, he was overall was a 70, his pass grade of a 66.9. So and then with the Redskins before getting, I believe he got benched, it was a 55. So I think it's going to be between the Raiders and the Browns to get that 7th spot, right? Raiders have a 1-game advantage already on the Browns. Let's say the Raiders don't have this letdown of losing their coach. Let's say they keep playing like they've been playing. So they got the Eagles next week at home, which is likely a win. The Giants the week after, which is likely a win. Then the Chiefs, which is a loss. Bengals, Cowboys. Those would be 3 losses. You're probably sitting there at an even 5-5 or 6-6 or whatever. And then they got the Washington football team that should be a win. They have a game at the Chiefs. They did split with the Chiefs last year, and the Chiefs aren't as strong, right? So they might split with the Chiefs. But then you're talking about a Week 15 game at Cleveland. It really might come down to that game at the end of the season of whether or not the Raiders get into the playoffs versus the Browns getting into the playoffs. Because then they finish the season off with the Broncos, Colts, and then the Chargers. And they likely win, 2 of those last 3. The Browns, though, their schedule, like we looked at this at the beginning of the season, we thought that at this point they might be 5-1. Well, they're 3-3, not expecting them to lose to the Chargers. When you looked at the schedule at the beginning of the season, or the Cardinals, you would expect them to be able to beat, for the Broncos, expect them to beat the Steelers at home, both these guys at home. And you're thinking, all right, they're sitting pretty at 7-1 after 8 games. Let's say you do give them the win against the Broncos. Let's say you do give them the win against the Steelers, which is at home. So you're sitting there at 5-3, you're feeling a lot better about the season, but then you go out on the road to the Bengals and on the road to the Patriots. Those could be 2 losses right off the bat there too. So you're back to a 500 record. You got the Lions, which is a breather, but then you've got back-to-back games against the Ravens. I figured that they would have split preseason. I would said that they would split against the Ravens, especially when you're talking about, like, you had Ravens at Ravens, bye, home against the Ravens, and then Baltimore in between the two, where Cleveland's getting the rest, are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, that second Ravens game was like a surefire win for the Browns based on that schedule for the Ravens and how it's shook up for the Browns. But the thing is, if you have Case Keenum out there, I don't know if that's that's no longer that, right? And then you finish the season with the Raiders, Packers, Steelers, and Bengals, and you hope to go, at worst 2-2 in that stretch. So then you're looking at a 9-8 or 8-9 type team. Is that going to be enough to make the playoffs?
When we get back, we'll go behind the enemy lines, break down the Thursday night game with the Denver Broncos. We'll give our X factors and we'll give the keys to the game and our predictions. It's all coming back up. It's G.Bush, John Kosko, and the Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. Costco's PFF grades are brought to you by BetUS.com. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUSA.com. Join now for 125% bonus or 200% bonus with crypto. Use the promo code BARBERSHOP and bet sports, casinos, horses, pop culture, and more at BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.
BetUS has been serving clients for 25 plus years and prides itself on being known as America's favorite sportsbook. With action on every sport across the world, we can pretty much guarantee that we've got your game. BetUS offers the industry's biggest retail bonus to keep our players betting longer. The BetUS loyalty program is legendary. We keep our players up to date with articles, players, teams, stats, and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions.
Make sure you guys check out BetUS.com and use the promo code BARBERSHOP. BetUS.com. Network, G.Bush, John Kosko. Let's get into behind enemy lines. The Denver Broncos come into First Energy Stadium. Browns on a short weekend, Thursday Night Football. And I'll tell you what, to me, this is a must win. You have to win this because if you don't win this, you go 3-4. We talked about prior before the break some of the schedules that we're going to have in the scheduled game that we play. And it reminded me of the things that we were doing with when Freddie Kitchens was a coach. The Browns had these crazy expectations. They had a bunch of nationally televised games. They get out to a slow start, get boat raced by Tennessee. They lose these games. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the season, everybody's talking point was, well, at the end of the year, we're going to have the Broncos and these easy teams. It can get late early real quick if they lose this game. I got it going down as a must win. What do you say?
Oh, 100% is a must win. I think you looked at this. The Broncos, I think, were kind of a fraudulent 3-0 team when they started off that, hot and everything. You talk about the opponents that they went up against, the New York Giants. They've won one game. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who've won one game, and the New York Jets, who have won one game.
Yeah, that was fraudulent. Definitely.
That was fraudulent.
Definitely.
And then they went up against the Baltimore Ravens, got handled very easily. Went up against the Steelers, were down like 3 scores or whatever, and had like a late comeback where they almost did actually tie it up at the end, but they were handled for most of that game, and then they lost against the Raiders, who were there handled most of the game. So I think with the Broncos, they've had some injuries too. Like, Jerry Jeudy's been out for most of the season. My fantasy team has taken a hit because of that, but like I think their secondary, which, coming to the season was a weak point for them, looked really good those first 3 weeks because of, going up against 2 rookie quarterbacks and a team that's not very good in the New York Giants. Have, obviously looked extremely vulnerable. They've had grades of 44, 32, and 38. So still, even with like the issues that they've had the past couple weeks, like they're still like overall, like from an offensive standpoint, the team is the 3rd best team. If you're talking about if you remove the quarterback from the situation and you looked at the overall grades of the team minus the quarterback, the Browns are the 3rd best in the NFL.
I think if you're the Browns fans, the best case scenario is you hope it clicks on defense, and if Baker is not playing, you just hope.
What about Cam Newton?
I would have never expected you, Mr. Kosko, to tell me about Cam Newton, because you don't like no distractions. You're not a distraction type man. That ain't your game plan, right?
Correct. It is not my in my best interest to have a distraction type guys, but I mean, what if he's like the type of guy to be able to come in here with OBJ and just to kind of glue it together.
Listen, I told somebody asked me this on Twitter, right? They said G.Bush, Cam Newton said Cam Newton said that he didn't have some offers from some teams. What you think? I said, listen, it'll be a doggone civil war in this city. I said, Cam Newton, verbatim, I said, Cam Newton is too good, too decorated, and he is too polarizing. Now, when I say polarizing, Cam Newton ain't did nothing to nobody. Like, he's not out here doing nothing crazy. It's just when people say if he's your backup, right? I'm thinking along the terms of, if Cam Newton come in here and OBJ and Jarvis Landry look like they crazy good, and this offense kicks up and everybody's scoring touchdowns and the Browns go on a streak, the very next question is, I mean, is Baker really still the quarterback though? Because what we doing with him? So if Cam Newton comes in and you bring him in and the Browns make a run, what do you do next year with Baker Mayfield? Because I don't care about feelings. I'd bring in Dr. Dre as my director of music. So you'd be mad at me, but I'd bring it. But you, what would you say to that?
I don't see them bringing in Cam Newton, right? Like, that's probably just not in the cards. But like, let's say hypothetically, right?
Speaking.
So they bring in Cam Newton, and it's like Cam Newton leads this team into the playoffs, and they do well. They're not going to win the Super Bowl probably with Cam Newton or something like that. Like, he's not the same quarterback he was back in his prime, right? But maybe he can manage this team good enough to get them there, and he's a good enough playmaker that can do that. I don't think he changes anything unless he comes in there and starts lighting it up, where it's like, where the heck was this Cam Newton all these years, right? Like,
he would be playing with the best receivers he's ever played with in his life.
I get it, but like, there's that's one of the things why we do what we do at PFF is we're separating how good the quarterback is from the system and the scheme and stuff like that. Like, right. So like, if Cam Newton comes in here, he's making these big time throws. He's playing great from a clean pocket. He's making the right reads. He's doing it from the stable type of extra chicken. You're just like, okay, where did this come from? Then you have that discussion, right? Like, you have that type of thing. Now, if he's a type of guy that's like, all right, he's just delivering the ball where it needs to go. He's making a couple plays here, but he's really kind of being more of like the game manager. And I use this word game manager, but it's like, you're not driving the bus. The bus is driving you, right? That's kind of more of the situation here. Like, he's not doing what Justin Herbert was doing so far this year, what Lamar Jackson's doing, even what like Patrick Mahomes, who's having a down year, what he does, right? Like, they're the ones that are driving the bus. The bus isn't driving them. So from a long-term standpoint, like, I mean, you have to seriously question whether Baker Mayfield is a long-term answer here. And I would say that the grades would say no. What you have is inconsistent play. Who is he as a quarterback? You're not seeing the progression. Like, all right, he's got this concept down, and when the defense does this, he knows what to expect and stuff like that. He's still getting fooled by things that he was getting fooled 2 years ago at. So it's like, at some point you have to realize maybe this guy isn't it from a grade standpoint, also on an on-field standpoint, and who knows what's going on in that locker room and in that building and stuff like that. All that stuff has to be taken into consideration. I would say that, like, from what we see from the film, he's unfortunately not it.
People always say, why do you guys think that the Browns had to win this year? When you look at what the money that they owe people and the decisions that they have to make on certain people, the Cleveland Browns have to go all out this year. I'm going to be able to see really quickly if the Cleveland Browns are about winning or not. Because if you said, I'm going to bring in Cam Newton, I'll be like, dang, this is a new day in Cleveland. Because these dudes really, really are about winning. They really want to win. They don't care. Like, they know that this is the year. They know they got to push all the chips to the middle of the table. And they understood. You look at what the Buccaneers did. Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the championship last year, and they pulled out every stop known to man. They had Cameron Brake. They said, no, give me Gronk. You had Mike Williams, and you had great receivers. You said, no, give me Antonio Brown. They had nice backs. There's like, no, give me Leonard Fournette. They just kept bringing guys in. So, and they
constantly trying to improve, constantly. You have to do that year in, year out.
As far as this game again on Thursday, who do you believe are your X factors for this game, and hoping the Browns can get a win?
X factor on offense. I mean, it's right now it's in flux of who's actually going to be playing in that game, but I'd actually say it's going to be Odell Beckham Jr. Because we saw now this week, I think 2 weeks in a row, you see him consistently getting open. You saw the production follow with him getting open, and whatever quarterback is going to be throwing the ball, they're going to have to rely on him. If you're out your top two running backs, you're still out the tackles. If you're still, if you're still out Jarvis Landry, he's going to be the guy that you're going to have to look to be a leader on that offense and make plays and essentially help the offense consistently find other guys that are open, because he's going to draw that attention, and then also be able to, when he gets the ball thrown his way, to move the chains. And then on defense, I'm going to say it's got to be like John Johnson or something like that. You're talking about another JOK is hurt. He's likely not going to be playing in this game. He's a high ankle sprain or whatever. So I think John Johnson, he's that leader in that defense and that secondary. He's got to get them together, and they got to figure this stuff out, and he's got to play well and lead by example from that aspect. And if he plays well, he can help shut down this. The Broncos have some good receivers. Tim Patrick's a solid receiver. Courtland Sutton is a stud. I love him. So like their running back duo of Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams is an excellent one. So like they've got to play well in defense, and I think John Johnson can be the guy that is a reason why they paid him the $13 million a year. He needs to start making it worth that.
For me, when I look at this, my X factor on offense is Demetric Felton. I really feel going forward, this could be a great opportunity for him to step up and seize that second team running back position, third down back. I think, it's a shame Kareem Hunt went down, but Demetric Felton gets an opportunity to show he's versatile, been used mostly as a receiver, but it's a great opportunity if Nick Chubb does not play. That means it's Dearness Johnson and it's Demetric Felton. So he's going to have an opportunity to play a lot of snaps, either at receiver, kick returner. This is a game where you can see him, if he's utilized correctly, go over 100 yards because of his special team duty. So I like Demetric Felton on the offensive side of the football. On the defensive side of the football, I need to see something for Denzel Ward. I want to, Denzel Ward, man, you are a guy that is a top 5 pick. When Denzel Ward came out, I thought he was going to be locked down. I remember the game he played in that wet weather game against the Steelers, and he was
his first game as a rookie, right?
Yeah, and he was just jumping right. I'm like, he's in zone coverage. He's reading Big Ben's eyes, and he just jumps around. He's not even guarding the dude. He's in zone. He's just like, nah, I knew you was throwing over there. Give me that. I mean, he gets 2 interceptions that game, and it's almost like he's lost a little bit of his ball reaction skills. His ball skills were always solid. They got to put him in man coverage. Let him play. Like if they're not doing well in zone coverage, put him in man-to-man coverage, simplify it down to the lowest common denominator, and let him play fast, because they're going to need this game, and they got to pull out every single stop. It's unacceptable. Don't leave nothing in the chamber, nothing in the gas tank, because to me, this is the Brown season right here. What do you got far as a prediction for the game and final score?
I think the Browns should win this game. They have the better team, regardless of which quarterback is going to be playing in this one.
It's a lot of prefacing. A lot of prefacing here, Kosko.
I know. I think the Browns are going to win it, though. I don't know what the spread is right now off the top of my head or anything like that, but I think like a 21-17. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be anything like that. To
me, I think the Browns should blow them out. I'm not going to lie. I think they should blow them out. I'm just being truthful. I think if the Browns are a real deal team, right? If they are a real bona fide a contender, I look at what's happened with the Kansas City Chiefs. They played bad so far, right? It looked like they were going to lose to the Washington football team, didn't it? For a while, it was touch and go with the Washington football team. But then you know what they did? They said, no, we're the Chiefs. We refuse to lose this game, and we're not going to – I don't care. We're just not going to do that. We're not going to lose just based on the name on the schedule. We just not going to do it, and they find a way to win. they got to go out and win this game. I got the Browns winning this game 32-27. 32-27. Hopefully Browns can get this win. They better, or it's the season for them. For G.Bush, for John Kosko, you've been listening to the Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. Let's get this dub. You better pray for it. Peace.